The title for our thing, The Crow, the Cliche, there's a English poet named Ted Hughs, of no relation to me, that wrote a famous collection of poems called The Crow, and it was basically, there was a crow, but it was, he made him out to be kind of a devil figure, but it ended up being a pretty blasphemous work. But I don't know, I own it and I read it, and it's intriguing, people's conception of evil without, contrasting that with God. And it's, I don't know, in my opinion, I think it's easy to label something a devil, but I think it takes more to actually demonize, an entity or an action, because it requires, that standard of truth and righteousness to be able to contrast that. All that said, I have this is more of a story than a poem about a crow, and just kind of lifting that from Ted Hughs. We have the same initials. I could probably just plagiarize and get away with it, but the tiger watched as the vultures circled for many seasons and for a time, and times, and half a time until they began dying of fatigue. The vultures fell like giant hellish pinballs from the sky. Some fell unnoticed in the barren fields, others plummeted through the roofs of homes and places of commerce. The pinballs did not explode, but simply gasped one last time as they gave impact, feathers in the fervor of something horrible was at hand. And while the vultures fell, they still lived and plotted evil in the same manner as the men below. Every bird of every world would eventually fall with some sort of glory, some sort of predisposition, including crow. The whole world had little eyes darker than a black condition. They have passions of fire like pieces of dirty roses. But the broken floats and toys and plastered cable lines and everything else placed in the forward. The next smack was and wings, speaking to no one, and said, and the bird never finished. Sometime later, a large shadowy figure bumped crows that was dragging a woman across the lobby. Little Crow quickly counted how many strands of hair the large shadowy figure had grasped in his right fist. 4,700. But it was the tower lobby. Crow hung its head and loaded it to the side of the place. It shook off the food from out of the back of the groceries in a toy grocery bag. The little crowd was a bit of rapture for the clean food, and then we called the number bear. It was kind of like it left the giant house to be that used to sit erect. Into the sound of screaming coming from nowhere. Don't feel obligated to clap. There's the first chapter of Micah, the Old Testament prophet. He gives a rebuke to cities in Israel, and we wouldn't know this reading in English, but the cities that he's rebuking, the Hebrew word for those cities represented another Hebrew word. So one city, I think it was Shafir, and in Hebrew it sounds close to, I think, being beautiful. And Micah uses basically a Hebrew play on words and dismantles the idols that they had in their time, and basically turns back on them the things that they held to. So in the city that they lived in, if it was about being populated, he was saying you're going to be barren. And when I read that some time ago, I was really struck by two things. And one is, I think sometimes we're hesitant to call the Bible literature because we feel like that might take away from it being the actual Word of God. But I think it's healthy to read it and see literature and see poetry and see the prose and the history. And the second thing is just the fact that God's not afraid to turn the things back on us that we hold as our strengths, and to actually do it playfully. Not in a way that belittles our situation, but there's some creativity to God's discipline, and His intervention. And this next song, or whatever you want to call it, it's about a guy that has a reoccurring dream where it's kind of like the dream where you're suddenly naked in front of other people, and he finds himself as the keynote speaker in this university chapel, and he just keeps having the same dream. And in it, he just assumes, I'm in a chapel building, and he begins to preach, from the Bible, and the university students basically rush him and tear him apart and mock him, and then he wakes up and he just keeps having a dream. So finally, he plays it differently, and this is the response. Good morning to everybody on the bottoms. Good morning to the back of the school that rested on the shoulders as you slung back from the tower of the window. Crawling through the underground, rather than encouraging from the spinning power of yesterday. Good morning to you as I put the nipples. When I look today with such great position. Assuming that we're all into the center and turn to the seat of the day. I throw the weekend and out the road with the freedom of will. And then I remember how foolish the morning step as I ride over and over. With motherfuckers not destiny or desire to eventual loop. I'm going to survive in that greatness here, with myself in this good morning. And as we further, let us call the shadows into our idols. Another hand. Another hand. Father, destiny, or desire, those creatures of the capacity, avoid battle stance, what is happening?